Hello everyone and welcome to another webinar, my final webinar out of the 3 webinars that I have been very honored to host with Adobe. Now today we're going to learn everything you need to know in order to get started in Premiere Pro. There is so much to cover. If we haven't met before, my name is Lila. So lovely to meet you. You may have seen me on social media as Lila from YouTube because I am a full-time content creator. I am a YouTuber. I upload a lot of Premiere Pro tutorials. But like I said, today I am your host. Now, I don't even know where to start. We're going to be covering so many things, and since it's my last live stream, at least for now, I really want to make sure that we cover everything that you need to know to get started. So we're going to open a project, we're going to import footage, we're going to make selections, we're going to edit our video, we're going to add music and titles, we're going to color correct and color grade our video, export our video. I'm going to show you a little trick that is, oh my gosh, it's so good. I'm going to show you a trick that will automatically transform your horizontal video into any type of video that you want, whether you want to post it on TikTok or whatever. We're going to go over all of that. Now, let me take a quick peek at the chat. Let's see. Yes, all of my sessions are available for replay, and I do want to make one little note. I know that some of you are here after Mendy's live stream on Friday. That didn't go so well. They're troubleshooting that, and not tomorrow, but on Wednesday. It's Monday today. On Wednesday, she's going live again, so make sure to tune in because she is amazing, and they're going to make sure that on Wednesday everything will work perfectly. So let's say hi to a few people before we get started. Hi, Jocelyn and Emma, and oh gosh, there's so many people. Refrag. I never know how to pronounce your name, but thank you so much for tuning in. I know that you told me that you were going to tune in. Thank you so much for being here. Hi, Nika. Hi, Jonathan. Oh my gosh, there are so many people. I am so excited that you're all here, and I'm so honored that you're spending your time with me and that you want to learn Premiere Pro from me, because oh gosh, I know what it was like when I just got started. Premiere Pro is such an amazing program. There are so many options, but when you get started, you're just like, where do I even start? What do I do? So I am very, very grateful that you're here with me today and that you're spending your time with me. Now, let me know if you're ready. Just give me a thumbs up in the chat. And yeah, the stream is lagging. It shouldn't be too laggy though, but I have had some issues with that. I have tried to solve it. I've tested this on my own channel and nothing was wrong there, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but thankfully we're going to switch over to the full screen of Premiere Pro, and you'll see me like this small in the corner, so you will not be bothered with the lagging. As long as the audio is good, we're good to go. I see a lot of thumbs up. That's great. All right, let's just go into Premiere Pro. We have about 75 minutes. Let's be honest, it's going to be probably like 90 minutes. But yeah, if at any point you have any questions, put them in the chat. The Adobe team is ready to answer all of your questions. I'll be taking a look at the chat as well. If you have any questions, maybe I can show you something or whatever. And because this is my last live stream, let's make sure that this is the best one. So if at any point you want me to show something again, or I go into too much detail and you're like, oh, this is a little bit overwhelming, just let me know because I am here for you. All right, 3, 2, 1, let's go. So you should be able to see my screen now. I really need to get a monitor because then I could see if you could see the screen right now. But this is the first window that will pop up when you open up Premiere Pro. Here you will find all of the projects that you've been working on. Now this one right here, this is the project that we worked on Wednesday last week. And what we're going to do is we're not going to work on any of these projects. We're actually going to be opening up a new project. And we do that right here by clicking on this button right here that says New Project. And that will open up this window right here, and there is a lot of settings, but what we're going to do is only 3 things. We're going to change the name. Creativity, right? This is my... Oh, there is a hair in my eye. That's the beautiful thing about having cats. This is my last but best webinar for now. All right, well, that is as good as it's gonna get today. Then we're going to choose our location and we're going to click on browse right here. And that will open up your Windows Explorer. I am on Windows. If you're on Mac, that is your Finder. And as you can see right here, I already have a lot of folders. So let's take a second and talk about folder structure. Folder structure is really important, and I really encourage you to organize everything as soon as you get it from your SD card, because it will make the entire experience so much better. It will make editing, for a fact, a lot better and a lot more efficient, and you will see that in a second. So what I have right here is I have an A-roll folder, a B-roll folder, a music folder, sound effects, assets, exports, and projects. Now, when it comes to these two, A-roll and B-roll, that is just something that works for me because, like I said, I am a YouTuber mainly, so I do a lot of A-roll, which is talking head videos like this, for example, and B-roll is any supporting videos. So let's say that I'm talking about my cat. As I'm talking about my cat, I'm showing a video of my cat. That is considered B-roll. So you're basically just visualizing the story that you're telling, that you're literally like telling the narration of your video. And then, like I said, number 7 is project. And if we double click on this, you can already see that there is some folders in here. Now, for you, this may not be the case if you're just starting a new folder called projects. For me, this is the case because I already have some projects in here, which I will switch to after we've done our basic edit. But the reason why I create a folder called project is because when you're creating a project, you're not just creating one file that is your Premiere Pro project. You're actually also creating an autosaves project. Folder, I'm sorry. And in this case, I used a song from the Essential Sound Adobe stock library. So you will create a folder for that as well, and for motion graphics, which are animations. Now, this I can show you in a second why this is all saved right here. But most importantly, I just really want you to create a folder for your projects, because otherwise you're going to have all of those folders right here and you have your project file in here and it will get messy so quickly. So with all that being said, we're going to double click on this again, select folder, and then the last thing that I want you to check is right here. It says renderer, Mercury Playback Engine, GPU Acceleration, OpenCL. I know, right? The only thing that you need to know here is that it says GPU acceleration. Now I'm on Windows, so it says OpenCL. If you're on a Mac, it should say CUDA, C-U-D-A, or maybe even Metal. I'm not entirely sure. Just make sure that if in this drop-down menu, you do have the option to choose GPU acceleration, to choose that, because then Premiere Pro is going to run the fastest. Let's hit OK. And welcome to Premiere Pro. Now let me quickly check the chats. I see a lot of thumbs up. Hey, hello. Let's see. Oh yeah, so the power bins thing is, you should look into search bins. I will not go into that in this workshop because that's that's not really related to the workshop, but go Google search bins. Search bins could be what you're looking for. So I don't think that there is dead on me. Hello! Thank you so much for being here. I see so many familiar faces today. That is so exciting. Thank you so much for joining my last workshop. Okay, let's continue. So this is Premiere Pro, and where do we start and how do we start editing a video? Well, let's first explore the workspace a little bit. So if we go up here, we can see basically our entire editing workflow. So you start with assembly, which is assembling your files. Then we have editing, we have color grading, we have adding effects, we can edit our audio, graphics, captions, libraries, so much to go over. But what we're going to do is we're actually just going to stay in the editing workspace. So if you're in learning, for example, if this is really your first time in Premiere Pro, you're probably right here in learning. Just click on editing and you will be in this workspace. This is the default workspace for everyone, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah. This is all you need because, you can use all of the other workspaces because those workspaces are presets that are designed to give you the best editing experience. But I can also understand that, especially when you're just starting out in Premiere Pro, that it can be quite like you can get lost really easily. So let's just stick to the editing workspace. So as you can see, there are 4 windows right here. So let's start down here. This is our project bin or our project folder. In Premiere Pro, folders are called bins. They're not trash bins, they're folders. And this is where you'll find all of your files. This is where you'll find your video files, your sound effects, your songs, your ambient sounds, your logos, whatever you import, whatever asset you import into Premiere Pro and you want to edit with, you will import it right here and you can find everything here. Now up here, we have our source monitor. So basically these are our files, right? And you could also see them as our sources because then in this, right now I am in effects controls, which I will show you once I have some files on the timeline. So this is our source monitor. And basically all of our sources, if we want to preview those sources, we can double click on them, which I will also demonstrate in a second, and they will pop up right here. So this is our source monitor and these are basically our sources. Now, if we move down here, you can see that it says timeline, and in Premiere Pro, a timeline is called a sequence. So this is where we will be editing our video. And then finally, we have this window right here, which is our program monitor. And our program monitor is basically where we can preview our entire edit. So we edit our video here, and if you want to play through that, you will see that up here. So these 2 windows right here are linked, and these 2 windows right here are linked. Now, before we start importing our files, there's one more thing, and that is this right here. This is our toolbar. Now, as you can see, there is plenty of tools that we can use, but we're just going to use a few tools and we'll get to them when we get to them. But let's just talk about 2. That is the selection tool, which is our cursor, the thing that you see right now. And we have a razor tool, which is our cut tool. Now, one really neat thing about Premiere Pro, and especially if you're starting out, there's just so many things to learn. One little hack that I really want to show you is that as soon as you hover over anything, like anything, you can hover over any of these things. It will tell you exactly what it is, and it will also show you a shortcut if there is a shortcut for it. So if at any moment you feel a little bit lost or you're like, oh, I want to cut again, what do I do? Just go over it. Oh, razor tool, cool. And if you want to level up, look at the shortcut, and between brackets, it says C. So now we know, and if we want to cut our video, which we will do in a second, you only have to press C or click on this button right here. So I think that is such a great way of learning Premiere Pro, and it's so much easier than you think because you can just hover over anything and it will tell you exactly what it is. All right, let me see. Are there any questions? I think I'm just going to continue for now because I do see a few questions, but I feel like Adobe already took care of that one about the renderer. And the rest of it is all just for later. It will all make sense. So let's just start editing adding our footage. In order to edit our footage, we're gonna go to the project bin right here, and as you can see, it says import media to start. So we double click on it, and that will open up this window. And let me go back to the folder that we're using. And now what we can do is we can open up our A-roll. We can select both by drawing a box over it. We can click right here on open. And then we can double click on it again. We can go to B-roll. We can select all of those clips and click on open. And right now, it is very simple, right? We're just talking about 6 clips. But you can imagine that the more and the more assets you're going to add to this, the crazier it will get and the messier it will get. And we just spend so much time on organizing it on our computer. So there's actually a few things that you can do inside Premiere Pro. The first thing that you can do is you can create bins, which again are folders inside Premiere Pro. And you can do that by going down here. Again, if I hover over it, it says new bin. I can click on that. And then a new bin or a folder is created. So then I can give it a name. I can say A-roll. and then I can click on this first clip. I can hold shift, click on the other clip, so now both are selected, and I can drag that to that folder. But what you can also do is you can select all 4 of them. So I'm going to hold shift again. I'm going to click on all of the 4 clips, and then I can drag them to that bin right here. As you can see, it turns blue. And as soon as I let it go, it all moves inside that bin. So that is also a really neat option if you want to do it this way, because this is just like one click less, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but honestly, the more you're editing, the least amount of clicks that you have to I don't know, the easier and the better and the more pleasant your experience. So now we have 2 folders, right? But what if I told you that there is an even easier way with even less clicks? For now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to delete those by pressing delete on my keyboard. And I'm going to open up my Window Explorer or my Windows Explorer. And again, if you're on Mac, that should be your Finder. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select these 3 folders right here. So I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to click on music. So now all 3 are selected. And then I'm going to drag this to Premiere Pro. And as you can see now, everything is in Premiere Pro already in the same folder structure that we've already created on our computer. So that is really, really useful. And now let's just explore this window a little bit more before we actually start editing. So right now what you can see is that it says 2 B-roll, 3 music, and 1 A-roll. I gave them a number because I wanted to start with A-roll, then B-roll, then music. So in order to sort this, we can click right here on this right here, hover over it, and it says sort icons. And then I'm going to go up to name. I'm going to click on name. And now it is sorted by name. So now we have 1, 2, and 3. Now let's open this one. We have 4 clips right here. This is the icon view or the thumbnail view. This is very useful. This is my preferred method of viewing my videos because now I can just hover over it and I can see what's happening inside the video, which is very, very nice if you just quickly want to find if it's the right video, especially if you shoot something multiple times. And there's also another way of viewing this, and that is if we go down here, we have the list view. Now again, if I go over it, it says switch the current view to list view. So again, it is so much more straightforward than you might think at first. I think I totally understand that at first it is really overwhelming. I remember that for me, it was quite overwhelming, but it is just knowing these little things just really makes it a lot easier. So I'm going to click on list view. And then we get this. Now, this is not my preferred method of working, and I also wouldn't really recommend it to anyone unless you use like very descriptive titles so you know exactly what every video is, or if you have like a shot list with the numbers that you need to use, then in that case, this is probably the way to go. Now, why would I use this? I would use this because of all the metadata. And metadata is information of a video clip. So for example, if we look at this first clip, we can find out, oh, it's 100 frames per second. We can, let me just zoom out a little bit. We can find out, oh, okay, it's 11 seconds. It's a 1080 clip because it's 1920 by 1080. And there's just like all of these things, and if at any point, you know, you want to add more things, it's a little bit more advanced. But if there is anything else that you would need to be displayed here, you can right click on it, click on metadata display, and that will open up a window where you can just easily select the things that you want to show here. But that's just a little bit like too much for most of us. So this is the list view, and then there's also something, let me zoom in again, there's also something called the freeform view. And the freeform view is basically like a storyboard, and you could also just look at this as a gigantic digital memo board or whiteboard where you can just organize your thoughts and you can figure out the story, or you can organize it visually any way you want. One thing that I really want to make clear is that with editing, there is no right or wrong. Like when it comes to workflow and stuff, I feel like it's very personal. I am a self-taught editor, so I might do things differently than someone who went to school for it, but that doesn't mean that I am not as good as them or that they are not as good or intuitive as me. You know, we all have our own workflow. It's kind of like driving a car. We get lessons, right? And then after we've gotten our license, we kind of develop our own driving style, even though we still have to, you know, follow the rules. But maybe that was not the best example. I don't know what I was trying to do. Anyway, let's just continue, shall we? Anyway, there's no right or wrong. So please, what I'm trying to say is please don't worry if what I'm doing doesn't work for you. Just take your time to find your own editing style and workflow. So in order to do this, what I would recommend you to make this full screen. And in order to make this full screen, you can click or tap or press the tilde key, which is the little wave key, and that will make any of those windows go full frame. So for example, the program monitor, we can make that full frame. And if we want to make it smaller again, we press the tilde key again, the timeline if you want to. But in this case, we're going to make this one full screen. Now, obviously, I don't really have many files to show you like this whole creative process that can take place right here. But let's just say that we're looking for an opening clip and I'm like, okay, yeah, this could be cool. Okay, this is going to be my first clip. Then I want this one. Then I want this one. And lastly, I want this one. You can see how this works, right? I mean, this is obviously very simplified, but it can be very, very useful. But for now, I'm just going to be using the icon view. So I'm going to hit the tilde key again, and I'm going to click on the icon view again. And now it is time to create a timeline, which again is called a sequence in Premiere Pro. So in order to do that, I want to go back to the project bin, so to the master folder, the main folder. And one way of doing that is by clicking right here on this folder. Or what you can do is as soon as you open any of those bins, so let's open the A-roll bin, you will see that it opens up right here. So this is really great to just navigate from one folder to the other. So this is usually how I navigate from one folder to the other. Let's see if there is any points for Lila for being a Sony shooter. I'm a Sony girl. Is there any in the effects panel where you can scale? Yeah, okay, so, okay, Adobe is, okay, thank you so much for trying to help refrag because I feel like we're not at that point in the workshop yet. Okay, so we're going to create a timeline. We can create a timeline a few different ways. We can go down here, right next to the folder icon. It says new item. We can click on that and then click on sequence. And that will open up this window. Or what we can do is we can just, let me close that. We can right click and then click on new item and sequence, whichever way works for you. Now, there are a lot of sequence presets right here, and I always use any of those. Now, just use one that works for your project. What you can also do is you can go to settings, and then you can just adjust anything that you like. So let's say right now we've chosen 25 frames per second, which is what I always shoot in because I'm in Europe. Now, if you're in North America, you probably shoot in 23.976 seconds. So you can select that right here if you want to. And then here you can change the frame size. So let's say that we want to create an Instagram square video. What we have to do is we would have to duplicate this number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit 2304. And then here it will tell you the aspect ratio, and 1 by 1 means that the height is the same as the width. It's 1 by 1, so it is a square. Now, I'm just going to bring this back to the original value. And then if you want, you can save the preset. If you're if you're making a lot of Instagram videos, like the square videos, and you want to save that preset, you can save that preset right here, and you can give it a name. And then right here in sequence presets, you can find it right here in this folder called custom. Now, as you can see, I have a few custom sequence settings, sequence presets. Whew, I lost my train of thought there. Did you see that? Did you see me go? It just kind of left my head. Okay, so I'm going to click on this one and I'm going to hit OK. And now as you can see right here, a timeline has been created. Now, what if you have no idea about any of the stuff that I just talked about, like frame rates, aspect ratios? I'm just filming videos on my phone. Like, what do I do? Well, in that case, that is where the list view comes in. For example, let me open up the A-roll folder and then go to list view, because here's the metadata that I talked about earlier. So here you can see the frame rate, and again, you can see the aspect ratio if you want. But something that's really, really useful is if you right click on it and then click on new sequence from clip. What that does is it will create a sequence based on the settings or based on all of the metadata and the settings, the data, the information of that clip. So now it matches exactly that clip that we've created the sequence from. So this is a really great way of starting out. If you don't know anything about frame rates, if that's just like way above you right now or way over your head, that is totally fine. This is a good way to go as well. However, I'm going to close this and I'm going to delete it by pressing delete, because we do not need that because we've already created our sequence. Now, who of you noticed what I just did? If you paid attention, you saw something, you saw the sequence settings, right, that I chose, at 25 frames per second. I would like to know in the chat if any of you noticed something. Maybe I'm asking something that is not really that obvious if you're just starting out, which is also totally fine. There's no right or wrong. I'm just a little bit curious to see if you saw what just happened. Let's see, is there any other questions? No, I don't see any other questions. All right, okay, Angela doesn't, yeah, so what I did was this sequence settings, or the sequence settings of the sequence that we created is 25 frames per second. Now, if we look at the A-roll, so the talking head, which is the real-time video, and I'll explain to you why I call it real-time video in a second. If we take a look at this, it says 29.98 frames per second. So it doesn't match the sequence that we just created. So what do? We go to sequence up here, and then, oops, you need to make sure that you have your sequence selected, then go to sequence, sequence settings, and then right here, where you see time base, you can change it to the frames per second that you need. So I'm just going to choose this one. And now we have changed the sequence settings. So if at any point you create a sequence and then you need to change anything, you don't have to delete the sequence and create a new sequence. You can just go up here to sequence settings and then you can make your adjustments right here. Jocelyn said that they did. That is awesome. No idea. Okay, well, I hope that cleared it up. I knew that it was a question that was a little bit risky, like maybe you didn't see it, but yeah, now you see it and now you know how to solve it. So let me just go back to the icon view. By the way, at any time, if your workspace didn't look like this, or if this just doesn't work for your brain, because the designers of Premiere Pro, they designed these workspace presets so in such a way that they think is the most beneficial for you as an editor. But maybe you don't like this at all. Maybe you want, let's say, the project bin, maybe you want that to be on this side, right? You can, as you can see, you could also make this bigger and smaller. You can really just customize it by just dragging it anywhere. Let me see if I can drag this one really quickly. It's not working, that's fine. Maybe, so just, feel free to change the workspace in any way you want. If you want to go back to the original, to the preset, then go to Window, Workspaces, and then right here it says Reset to Saved Layout. Now, if you do like it, you can also save it as a new workspace. For now, I'm going to Reset to Saved Layout. There's just one more thing that I wanted to show you. I do like this one to be a little bit bigger, so I'm just going to drag that like so. But you can really customize Premiere Pro to make it really work the way that you work and you visualize things. Okay, so with our A-roll, what we can do is we can double click on it to open it up in the source monitor. I hope that it all starts making a little bit more sense now. And as you can see, It is now opened up here. So what we can do is we can just play through this with this little playhead right here. We can scrub through it. But when it comes to A-roll and audio, I really prefer to edit that on my timeline. So that is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to show you why and how in a second. The first thing that we're going to do is we need to get this video onto our timeline. So one thing that you can do is you can copy, or not copy, but you can drag and drop it right onto your timeline by like so. Or there is a little shortcut for it if you want to know a shortcut, and that is the comma for inserting videos. And there is something called, or there's a shortcut that is for overriding clips, and that is the period shortcut. But I will explain that to you a little bit when we are editing our B-roll. So now that we have our clip on our timeline, it's very small. I cannot really do anything with this. I like it to be big. I like it to be, you know, visual, because right now it is just, and just zoomed in, so it looks bigger, but we can actually make this a lot bigger by using this right here, this bar. We can zoom in, as you can see, or if you want to learn a shortcut, you could press the plus sign or the minus sign, like so. So I'm just going to hit the plus sign, and as you can see, this is our video part. So anything visual will be placed on this part. So if you have any titles or logos or video or B-roll, which is also video, you will see that up here in the video part. And down here, this is our audio part. So any dialogue or voiceover, music, sound effects, ambient sounds, anything like that, you will find down here. There's a really thick line right here. If you want, you can also drag that up or down if you need some more space for your audio editing or for your video editing. You can just drag that up or down. Now, I like to make these tracks bigger. So the way to do that is to hover over this line right here. And as you can see, this icon, I don't know what the icon is called, but this will appear, and then you can just drag it up. And you can also do the same for audio. So I'm just going to drag that down. And if you want to reset it, you can just double click on the track, and now it's reset. And you can also, if you want, double click on it again, and this will give you the default height. But I like to be a little bit bigger, so that is what I'm going to do. So now this is our, let me just zoom out a little bit. Is this gonna work? No, let's just do it like this. So this is our clip, right? And the reason why I like to edit this on my timeline is because I read the waveform. Now, maybe you're just like, Lila, waveform, what is that? What do we do? Well, the waveform, that is basically just this audio part right here. And sorry about that. What you can see is that this part right here looks really similar to this part right here. And it looks really similar to this part right here, right? Let me zoom in a little bit. This and this and this all looks the same. What is the log camera? The Sony a6600. I think that was good. Okay, let's do that one more time. Hey everyone, welcome to another video. I hope that you're doing well. In this video, I want to share 5 reasons why you should be getting the a6600. See, I did the exact same thing twice, or actually 3 times, but I don't want to waste too much of your time. And that is because I always like to film my videos when I'm filming my videos and when I have a good cut. I always want to make sure that there's, you know, one more for safety, as they call it. In my case, it's usually 20 more times for safety. But yeah, so what this tells me is that I can just cut it right here. I can cut all of this out. So if I zoom in, what we can do is we can go right here to the razor tool, but as you can see, it also says C, which is the shortcut for the razor tool. So I'm going to press C on my keyboard, and then I'm going to make a cut right here. Then I'm going to press V, which is the selection tool, as you can see right here. I'm going to press V again to get my cursor back, because if we still have C enabled, if we still have the razor tool enabled, and we want to select this clip, right? Because now we need to delete this clip. If I accidentally click right here, I'm like, oh no, I didn't want to cut my video. What you can do is, let me now enable the selection tool. by pressing V, we can either hit Control Z or Command Z if you're on a Mac to undo something, or what you can do is you can click right here on this cut and you can press delete on your keyboard and that will remove the cut. So if you accidentally cut your footage, then you can just delete the cut or undo it by pressing Ctrl Z or Command Z on your keyboard. So now what we have to do is we need to click on this, delete it, and move this one forward. But what if I told you if there is an easier way? Let me just undo that by hitting Ctrl Z a few times. What if I told you that there is a way easier way of doing this, and that is by ripple deleting something. When you ripple delete something, I can explain it, but I can also just show you. What we can do is we can click on this, right click, and then click on ripple delete right here. Or I'm going to undo that again, Ctrl Z. What we can also do is we can click on this clip, we can hit Shift and delete, and that will do the exact same thing. So if you're ready for that shortcut, it's Shift, delete, both on Windows and Mac, if I'm not mistaken. And what that does is it deletes the clip in front of it, the one that we have selected, and it will immediately move everything. In this case, it's just one clip, but usually it's everything. It will automatically move everything to the front, so it will close the gap. Now, there is one more thing that we can do here, and that is, as you can see, there is a lot of nothing. There is a lot of quiet. Like I stopped talking right about here. Let's just say right here. We could either enable the razor tool again by pressing C, or we can hover over it like so. You'll see this red bracket with an arrow, and we can just drag that in. And now, as you can see, we have also cut something. So that is another way of cutting your video. So this would be our first clip. Now, I don't know if I gave you any context at the beginning of this webinar, but basically what we are editing today is we are editing a tag review video for YouTube. Now, if you aren't doing any YouTube videos or you're not making any of that and you're not interested in that, don't worry, don't click off just yet, don't click off, because everything that I'm teaching is applicable to everything. It's just because, you know, this is my specialty. I want to share that with you. So I want to give you some extra nuggets if you're interested in making YouTube videos, but everything like what we just did, the razor tool, it all works the same way, whether you're working on a documentary, a short film, or a YouTube video or a TikTok video. So next, I now have my intro, right? Now we need some B-roll, but actually before we do that, you may have noticed something. You may have looked at this and be like, okay, Lila, aren't you forgetting something? And that is the black bar around my clip. Well, I didn't forget about it, and I'm going to show you how to fix that now. So in order to make this fit, we can go to the Effect Controls tab. And that is what I showed you in the beginning, right here. Right here, you'll see the Effect Controls tab, and this is where you'll find all of your effects. Now, these are all the default effects, which will always be there. There will always be the position, the scale, rotation, opacity, and here you'll find all of your audio effects. So if you add any effects, then you will find that here and you can customize that here. So what we can do to make this fit the frame is we can click on motion, or we can first, let's just increase the scale. As you can see, this is how you can make something fit. Or if we click on motion or scale, you will also see these handles, right? So what we can do is we can actually drag this and we can try and make it fit, maybe. See how much effort this can be to really make it fit? And if I click on it and if I zoom in, you can see that I still didn't do a good job, right? There's actually a way easier way of doing that, and that is by right-clicking on your clip and then click on Set to Frame Size. When we do that, there's no more black line. It now fits perfectly. But I actually want to show you a little tip right here, because as you can see, this video the composition of this video isn't great, right? I mean, I'm a little bit like down in the frame and I actually want to be like more in the frame. So what we can do is we can use the controls right here in Effect Controls. We could use the scale to just make myself a little bit bigger, to zoom in a little bit. In Premiere Pro, by the way, there's no zoom function. It is scaling. So that is, you know, when you want to zoom in, you're using this scale effect. And then I'm going to use the position, and this is the horizontal coordination, and this is the vertical one. And I'm just going to move this a little bit like this. So now it looks a lot better. And it's a little bit of a hack in case, you know, you're in Premiere and you're like, oh man, I really don't like the way that I shot this. Just zoom it in a little bit, reposition it a little bit. No one can tell. And now it looks a lot better. Now, let me see if there's any questions. Javier, loving the live, Lila. Thank you so much, Javier. I loved your lives as well. Let's see. And the volume dropped off. Is the volume okay now? Will you cover scaling with keyframes so a subject can be followed, for instance? Mike, I can cover that really like quickly, but I cannot really do too much of that because I think that, you know, that would be a little bit too detailed for a lot of people. But keyframes, in case you don't know what keyframes are points that you can create to tell Premiere Pro, hey, I want you to go from A to B. So, for example, right now, if we want to zoom in, if we want to create a zoom in effect, so a scaling effect, what we can do is we need to create first a point for the start point. This is where we want Premiere Pro to start, because I cannot verbally tell Premiere Pro right now, I want you to zoom in on my face. We need to tell Premiere Pro, and we do that by using keyframes. So if, for example, let's just do that for this video. If we want to create that zoom in effect, what I just did is I went all the way to the front right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this little stopwatch right here. Now, as you can see, it says toggle animation, and that is how we can create an animation. So let me just click on that. And then, as you can see, a little diamond right here appeared, right? And that is a keyframe. So now we told Premiere Pro, this is our starting keyframe. This is our first keyframe. This is our starting point. Then we can move through the video if we want. Let's just go all the way to here. And then we can just zoom it in a little bit. I'm just going to do blindly. And now, as you can see, as soon as you change the value, another keyframe will be created. So now when we play through this, hey everyone, welcome to another video. Oops, it's buffering a little bit, but welcome to another video. I hope. Oh my gosh, what's going on? I'm just gonna go to, by the way, if at any time your Premiere Pro has any issues with playing back your video, you can always go down here and try this. This is full resolution, half resolution, quarter of a resolution, 1/8, 1/16, etc. So you can always do that. I think that my computer has a little bit of an issue today. I hope that you're doing well. In this video, I want to share 5 As you can see, now we have created a zoom in effect, which is a scale, basically what Mike just asked me. Now, if you want to really like track a person and stuff, I would recommend to just find a tutorial on that. I have a tutorial about it, for example, so you can go to my channel if you want. I really want to cover it right now, but I also don't want to do and get into too many details, if that makes any sense. So I really hope that that kind of answered your question. So now that we have this, we need our B-roll, right? So let's go to our project and then let's open our B-roll folder. And then here we have some clips. So like I said, you can hover over it and you can play through it. What you can also do is you can double click on it. Let's double click on this one. And then you can play through it like this. Now again, just as when I'm talking, I do a lot of shots. So in this case, I also have a lot of shots. And then usually the last one is the best one. So I don't want the entire clip. I want a selection. So we need to create a selection. Now, how do you create a selection? You create a selection in Premiere Pro by pressing I and O on your keyboard, which are the in and out points in Premiere Pro. So basically your start point of your selection and your end point of the selection. So let's say that I want it to start right here, right? I can press I on my keyboard, or you can click on this button right here, which says Mark In. And then, as you can see, you will see this highlighted bit. Now, everything behind or after our start point will now go on the timeline. But we also don't want that. We actually just want, let's just, until there. So now we have to press O on our keyboard to create our end point, so our out points. Now we have a tiny selection that we want on our timeline. So what can we do? Well, let's talk a little bit again about the period and the comma, because now I can show this to you a lot better. Let's just, for demonstration purposes, put the playhead right here. By the way, something that I haven't said, if you want to play through your video, press spacebar on your keyboard, or of course you can press on the button right here. And again, it says space. So just press on the spacebar if you want to play it. And if you want to pause it, also press on the spacebar. So I put the playhead right here in the middle of the frame, just for demonstration purposes, so you can see what I'm going to do. Now, if we want to insert this clip, insertion, that means that we're going to cut this clip up. We're going to cut this clip up. Yes, that's correct English. And the clip will be right in between. So in order to do that, let's hit comma on our keyboard. And now, as you can see, this part right after the playhead moved to the back, and now this clip is right in between. What if we want to overwrite our clip? Let's undo this by pressing Ctrl Z. If we want to undo this, what we're going to do is we're going to press the period on our keyboard. Now, as you can see, this part got shorter. It didn't move to the back. It is overwritten, right? So if you don't want to overwrite your clip, what I don't want to do right now, what you can do is you can find the last frame. So let's say that we want to add it to right here. We can go in and we can look for the last frame, right? What we can also do is press the up and down arrow of our keyboard. So if we press the up arrow, we go to the first frame of the clip. And if we press the down arrow, we'll go to the last one of the clip. So now that we are at the last frame of the clip, we can insert this bit like so, and now it is inserted. But in my case, when it comes to B-roll, I don't like audio. Even though there's no audio here, I don't need the audio track at all. So what can you do then? Let me just press delete to delete it. You can go here, and as you can see, let's hover over it, drag video only. Again, it's so straightforward. If you do this a few times, you'll get the hang of it way more easily than you think right now. If we hover over this, it says drag video only and drag audio only. So in this case, we only want the video. So I'm just going to drag and drop this to the timeline. And here we go. It's that easy. So now, as you can see, again, it doesn't fit the frame at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to click on set to frame size, and we're good. Let me check the chat a little quickly. Volume is good. Okay, that's great. That is awesome. Let's see. Okay, I don't see any questions. That's great. Okay, so now we have this clip. But when it comes to, let me just up the resolution a little bit. When it comes to this clip, if we go to the list view, I already know this obviously, but if we go to list view, you can see that the frame rate is different. We can see that the frame rate is 100 frames per second. Now this is where slow motion comes in. If you want to add something with slow motion, which is something that you'll see a lot on YouTube, a lot of coffee montages with slow motion, with speed ramps and stuff, you want to make sure that you shoot at a higher frames per second. So what that means is that if we have 1 second, in this case, our real-time video is 30 frames per second. So that means that there are 30 still images within 1 second. And if we want to stretch that out and we want to make that 1 second into 2 seconds because we want to slow it down, you'll create gaps between all of those frames. So basically, I have some post-its here. Maybe we're just gonna try this out. I have no idea. If we have 2 frames next to each other in 1 second and we want to slow it down by 50%, it will be stretched out. So now we have this space right here, right? We have that space right there, and it will look very choppy. So what that would look like, if I just quickly duplicate this one by pressing Alt or Option if you're on a Mac. Because this is our real-time video. You can right-click on it and then click on, where is it? Speed and duration, or you can use a shortcut Ctrl-R or Command-R. And then we can change this to 50%, but we can, because the other one is 100 frames per second, let's just slow this down by 30% so we can see the difference. Now this right here, I'll get to that in a second, but I don't want to annoy you with the slowed down audio, so I'm just going to lower this right now so you don't hear it. Let's take a look at what this looks like. Now that looks really choppy, right? And that is because if these are the frames, they are now like this and there's gaps in between, and that creates that lag. Now when you have 100 frames per second, I'm gonna need, well, I only have 2 hands, so I'm going to use this. 100 frames per second means that on a timeline that is 30 frames per second, it means that they are basically a little bit like this, right? And when you stretch this out to slow it down, you'll actually create that space for them. So now they're all lined up next to each other very nicely, depending on the percentage that you're slowing it down to. But now they will go from this to this. Let me just go to my full screen, maybe that's easier. So they go from this to this, and now it will be very, very smooth. So let me show you what that would look like. This clip right here is 100 frames per second. So I'm just going to hit Ctrl R and I'm going to slow this down to 30%. So I'm going to type in 30. Let's see what that looks like. See how smooth that is? And that is because instead of all of the frames, that is because we have more frames in 1 second. So when we slow it down, when we stretch it out to 30% of the speed, it will all look very smooth. Now, let me see. Let me hit Ctrl Z again to undo that, because I actually want to show you how to create a speed ramp. And if you don't know what a speed ramp is basically the best example, the easiest example, the most cliche example that I can give you is like when you're watching like an action shot. Let's just say someone is skateboarding. They're skateboarding on this ramp, and as soon as they go up and they do their trick, it slows down. And then as soon as they hit the ramp again, it will go back to regular speed. That is a speed ramp. So in order to create a speed ramp, I'm going to zoom in on my timeline, and I'm going to zoom in on this clip so you can see it better. We first need to click right here. This little FX button, as you can see, if we right click on that, we can go to time remapping and click on speed. Now, as you can see, the line has gone from up here to here because now we have a speed line. So what do we need to do? First, I'm going to zoom out so I can see what's going on. Let's just say that we want to create like a little speed ramp right from this moment. We need to create a point. We need to create a keyframe. We just talked about keyframes, and now we need to create another keyframe. We can do that by pressing or by clicking on the pen tool right here, or as you can see, you can press P on your keyboard. So that's what I'm going to do. And now we have created a marker, as you can see. Now what we can do is we can drag this line individually because we've created a marker. So I can do something like this. And now if we play this, if we play this is going very fast. You can see that the transition, there is no transition. It just goes from regular speed right to fast speed. So let's first also, since it's 100 frames per second, we can slow this down. So let's just slow it down to about here. Now you can see it better. So it's slow and then it's fast, hey everyone, right? Oops. So what we can do is we can actually make sure that this transition is a lot smoother. So let me zoom in a few more times. Right here, if we click on this marker, we can actually just drag it out. And as we drag it out, and if we move it around a little bit, you can see that now there's a little bit of a ramp, right? And if we click on the marker again, you also see these handles. And if I'm dragging the handles like so, do you see how smooth it just got? Like it's now super smooth. So if we play through this, it will now be a lot smoother than it was. Now, of course, we can fine tune it, but we don't really have time for that. One thing that I do want to show you is right now, this is going to be our first clip, but it's a little bit weird if we go from in focus to bye. We don't want that. So a little trick again is to hit Ctrl R and then actually click right here on reverse speed. So let me just show you what that does. Now, what it does is it actually, bam, it zooms into, it is reversed. So now it looks like I'm losing words right now. It looks like we are, can you tell that this is not my mother tongue? We're going from out of focus to focus. Instead of focus to out of focus, now it looks like, bam, we're here, right? So that is a really cool first clip. Now, we can do this a few more times for all the other clips by creating selections for each of them, but I want to go through a lot more. So I actually have another project prepared. So I am going to be opening that one up right now, and then we continue. Don't worry, the timeline will look about the same, but I will already have my selections ready and my sequence ready. So let's do that right now. As I'm doing that, let's see. Yes, that's a good one. Okay, do you follow the 180 shutter rule? Are there any side effects from converting high frame rate video to 23 or 24 or 30 frames per second? Mike, that's a good question. So first of all, yes, when it comes to filming, it's more like a filming rule. When it comes to filming, I make sure that I shoot in 180 frames per second. And the reason why I do that is because of the motion blur. The higher the shutter speed, so if it's not 180 frames, which if you don't even know what that is, basically if we're shooting a video in 25 frames per second, we want the shutter speed to be double the frame rate, so 1/50th. That is the 180-degree rule. Now, the reason why you do that is because then you get the most natural motion blur. And if you have a higher shutter speed, then it will look very robotic and very fast, and you will see this a lot in action movies, for example. And if the shutter speed is lower than double the frame rate, then there will be a lot of motion blur. But that is not really when it comes to editing. But yes, I do use the 180-degree rule. Are there any side effects from converting a high frame rate video to 24 to 30 frames per second? Sometimes when I start doing math with frame rates, my head, I totally get that. So are there any side effects from, no, well, the thing is, when it comes to using a higher frames per second on a timeline, it's best to slow it down to match that, to match your sequence. But what you could do, for example, is you could click on a clip. Let's just click on this clip. We can click on this clip, we can right click on it, and then here modify, if we click on interpret footage, then we can assume a frame rate. So if you shoot in certain frames per second, I honestly wouldn't recommend it if you shoot anything in like 100 frames per second and you want to assume like 30 frames per second or something. But this is where you can do it. This is where you can modify your video and you can interpret a clip. So here you could say, okay, instead of 100 frames per second, I want this video to be interpreted as 30 frames per second. That is where you do it. So you right click on this and then you click on modify, interpret footage, and then you can click right here on assume this frame rate and you can pick any frame rate that you want. Oh, shoot, I am not sharing my screen, am I? Here we go, I am sharing my screen now. Okay, so let's do that again. We can right click on the clip and then click on modify right here and then interpret footage, and that will bring up this window right here. Then right here it says assume this frame rate. Now here you can just type any frame rate. I already said all the other things, so this is where you can assume the frame rate and then you can hit OK, and then it will assume this frame rate. So again, right click on it and click on modify and then interpret footage, and that will bring up this window. So as you can see, I already have my clips ready now. This is the speed ramp that we just did, and I also made some selections for the two other clips that I wanted. And then we start with me again talking about the camera. So now that we've done that, it is time to edit our audio. And in order to edit our audio, we can either go to this workspace right here, to the audio workspace, or we can open up the Essential Sound panel. Now we can open up the Essential Sound panel by clicking on Window right here, and then click on Essential Sound right here. And then let me just move myself to the other corner. Now this is the Essential Sound panel. And this is where you can edit any type of audio type. Now, let me just select these two by just drawing a box because I don't have anything underneath. Otherwise, you can click on this one, hold Shift, click the other one. And then right here, it says assign tag to the selection to enable editing options. There's obviously something in front of my screen right now, which is why I couldn't read it. Now here you have 4 options. You have dialogue, music, sound effect, and ambience. Now obviously this is dialogue, so I'm just going to click on dialogue. And now we've told Premiere Pro that these are our dialogue clips. And in a second, it will make complete sense why why we did this. But another reason why we do this is because now we can edit our audio. So let me put on my headphones. Yes, okay, so what is my order of editing? Let me quickly, so basically I am just showing you how I would edit. This is basically it. I always do my color grading last because when you color grade, your edit kind of starts to slow down, so it's a little bit harder to play it back. So I always try to do everything first. So everything, like first is obviously cutting the video, and then depending, usually I work in sections, so I make sure that one section is done with the music and everything, move on to the next section. Sometimes I just do my entire video first and then all the sound effects and music. But basically, and my titles and everything, and then finally I do my color grading because it slows Premiere Pro down a little bit, and it's just less pleasant to then have to go back and play a lot of things. Because it will just be a little bit laggy, at least for my computer. And then finally I export it. So I'm basically just showcasing, like Adobe already said, I'm basically just showcasing my workflow. So let's just edit this audio. As you can see, there's something called loudness where you can make sure that all of the dialogue clips are matched in loudness. So you don't have one clip that's very low and then another clip that's way louder. Now what you can also do is right here, click on repair, which is what we're going to do. And there is a lot of different options. So we can choose, let me just move this around a little bit. So what we can do is we can choose to reduce the noise, for example, or rumble if there's anything like that happening. But in this case, my room is not sound treated and you can definitely hear it. There's a lot of reverb. So let me just play through it first. I hope that you're doing well. In this video, I want to share 5 reasons why you should be getting the A6600. As you can hear, there is a little bit of a reverb, right? So what we can do is we can check this box right here that says reduce reverb. And now let's play it again. Well, I hope that you're doing well. In this video, I want to share 5 reasons why you should be getting the A6600. Now the reverb it's not entirely gone because I just need to soundproof my room, to be honest with you. But this is a great way to reduce a little bit of reverb if you have any. I think it sounds better than with the reverb, so it's definitely an improvement. So now that we have done this, let's not go through everything, but as you can see, there are so many other options here. What you can do is you can actually also add music to your video using the Essential Sound panel. Because if we click right here on Browse, so right here, if we click on Browse, you will see a ton of songs, and these songs are all from Adobe stock. Now Adobe stock has, I don't even know how many songs, a lot of songs that you can pick from. And you can first, because as you can see, it says 38,000 songs. So that's a lot of songs, right? We don't want to go through all of them. So therefore there are some filters right here. So you can filter by mood, which is something that I really recommend if your video really needs, or you really want to convey a certain emotion in your video. I would really recommend to filter by mood. You can also filter by genre, and that is what we're going to do actually. And you can also, there's also some other filters, so you can change the tempo. BPM stands for beats per minute, so the higher the beat per minute, the more like beat per minute there are, and the slower, you know, it's slower. So those are basically beats per minute. And then we have the duration, and we have some audio partners. I always take Epidemic Sound because I use their service all the time. I love it a lot. And what we're going to do is we're first going to go to mood, right? What I want, if you've ever watched any gear reviews on YouTube, you may have noticed that there is a lot of like this rock, this angry rock, this really bad booty rock music. that we can that a lot of creators use. So we're going to be using that as well. So let's just say that we want something angry, and we want, all of a sudden I started looking angry. Did you see that? I said angry and that's weird. Okay. We also want something, let's just say we also want something powerful. And is there anything else that we want? Epic. Epic is always good. Epic is always good. Then for genres, let's say obviously we want rock. And then for filters, the only thing that I'm going to do is I am going to, let's just say that we want something in the middle. We don't want something that's too slow. We don't want something that's too fast. So let's do that. And then duration, we don't need a song that's 20 minutes. So we're just going to go, let's do 5 minutes. So now, as you can see, you'll see right here a selection. Let me just close these. Here you'll see a selection of songs that meet our filters or our requirements. So now, as you can see, there's also waveforms here, which is why it's so useful to learn how to read waveforms. So you can see what I'm looking for is I actually want a song that comes in here and then here goes into full blast speed, whatever you want to call it. So I can already see that this one is not for me. This one also not. Maybe this one. But I already know which one I want. I want to use this one. So what I'm going to do, and this is really neat about the Essential Sound panel, is I can put my playhead, let's just put my playhead right here, and I can audition the song for my video. So I can just start playing it without having to put it on my timeline. I want to share 5 reasons why you should be getting the A6600. I've been using the A6600 for the past year now, and I absolutely love it for vlogging. It is small, it is light. See? It's really good. You really get immediately, you can kind of test the vibe of the song if it fits your video. Now, obviously the timing was really off, but it's a really great way to kind of audition your songs and see which one will work for your video. And then what you can do, you do have to license this, but you can just drag and drop it onto the timeline, and then it will appear right here. But maybe you have a song from a client or you have another song that you want to use. Let's just go to the project bin and go to, oh, I didn't import that. Let me just import it into this file or project as well. Now we have our music, right? So here we have the same song. I already had that song on my computer. So what you can do is you can double click on it and open it up in the source panel as well. And then you can set your in and out points. You can create your selection like we did before. So this can also be very useful if you're using any other song and you're not using the Essential Sound panel. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to zoom in by using this bar, which is, as you can see, the same bar as this one. I'm going to zoom in and I'm actually going to start my selection right here. So let's say I, and then let's just go right here to O. Maybe this is still too long, but we will figure that out in a second. Then I'm just going to drag that. I'm going to drag this like so. I think that's still too long, but you know, it's just for demonstration purposes, so it's fine. I'm going to make this track bigger the same way that we did before. So I'm just like that. Now, if we play through it, doing well. In this video, I want to share 5 reasons why you should be getting the A6600. You can already see how much epicness and coolness this adds to your video, right? Sometimes you just need to find a good song that will just make your boring edit, if it feels boring to you, that will make your edit just feel a lot more epic and a lot better. But now, as you could hear, I am competing with the sound because the music is way too loud, right? So what we can do is what I did earlier in the workshop is this is the line of the volume. So I can just drag that down so that we can hear me better. So let's do that. 5 reasons why you should be getting the A6600. But now we don't hear anything when we are when we have our cool intro that we worked so hard on. So therefore, there's actually something really cool. Let me undo this by hitting Ctrl Z. Let's go back to the Essential Sound panel right here and click on Edit. And now we're going to select our music clip and we're going to select music. So we're telling Premiere Pro, this is a song, this is music. And then right here, you'll see ducking. Now ducking, this stands for audio ducking. And this basically means that in this case, we have a song, or we're talking, and we do not want the song to be super loud. So we want it to be ducked, right? And then when we're not talking, we want it to go up again. And when we start talking again, we want it to be ducked again. So that is audio ducking. So we can check the box right here. And then here you'll see a few options. So you can duck it against dialogue, music clips, sound effects, ambience clips, and clips that don't have an audio type. But we already told Premiere Pro that these two clips right here are dialogue clips. So we can go here, we can say, okay, we want to duck it against audio, dialogue. And then what I'm just going to do is I'm going to generate keyframes, and I will show you in a second what these things mean. So I'm just going to generate keyframes. Let me just make this bigger so you can see it a little bit more in action. So now, as you can see, we have created keyframes. So this means that now this is where the music will go louder, and this is where the music will go back to regular volume, right? So let's just test this out for a second. The A6600. Now I think that this wasn't fast enough, right? I want the music to be like at full volume, like right here, not here, here. So what do we do? And also I think that this is still too loud. So what we can do is we can go to, let me just click on this. We can go right here. And here we have some options. So we have the duck amount, and the duck amount is basically how much you want to duck the music. So if we're talking, how low do we want the music to be? And again, if you hover over it, it will tell you exactly what it does. So it defines the amount of ducking that is done to this clip. And then also it will tell you right here if you want less or more. And in this case, we want more. So I'm just going to drag it this way. Now we don't need to be super precise right now. And then the fades are the transitions. So what we can do is, again, it tells you exactly what it is, and we want the transition to be faster. So I'm just going to go right here. I'm going to click on Generate Keyframes again. And now if we play through it, A6600. This is such a time saver. I know that in my last webinar, someone was completely blown away by this feature. This is one of those hidden gems that you really need to know about, because it's going to be helping you so much, especially if you have a much bigger project. So this is basically how you would edit music. There's also a ton more things that you can do. You can, really edit it on the beat of the music. But for now, let's just stick to this. Unless that's something that you really want to see, then let me know in the chat. Also, if you're still with me, if everything is still clear and you're still good and you're, make sure that you're hydrated, and give me a thumbs up in the chat so I know that everyone is still satisfied and happy and is still following along. Yeah, so again, what's ducking? I just explained that, but yeah, Adobe Care also explained it already, so I don't know if I need to go over that again. But basically what ducking is literally, it looks like this. So when there is audio, whether that is, in this case, we told Premiere Pro when there's dialogue clips, which is this one, we want the volume to be lower. And then when there is no dialogue clips, like right here, we want the volume to be higher. And then right here, we want it to be ducked again. So we want the volume to be lower. I see a lot of thumbs up. That is awesome. Okay. How can you fix the audio on dialogue? At some spots was louder than others. Auto match didn't work for that. What did I do wrong? I don't know. Usually it works for me, to be honest. Something that you can do, what I did recently, edit a video where the audio of some clips just weren't loud enough, just like it was filmed on a different camera with a different microphone, different settings. So it was just really low. And even with the auto match option, so if I go to loudness and auto match, it didn't match because it needed to be way louder. What you can try, I don't know if this is going to solve your issue, but what you can try is you can hit G on your keyboard, and that will open up the audio gain window right here. And then you can just adjust the gain by, just do whatever. Just try it out with maybe like 5 decibel, for example, and just to try out and try to match it like that. It's not ideal, but that is how I fixed it, like literally like last week or something. So that is something that you can do if it just doesn't match, because maybe it's just like too low for Premiere to match somehow. So you can give that a go. I came in late. I missed the part where you told Pro where your clips were dialogue. Yeah, I would really recommend you. I don't mean to be difficult, but you know, we don't have a lot of time left, and this is available for replay. And right now you can also just rewind a little bit if you want to just watch that little bit back. So, so we can just continue. Because this is also just available. Like right now you can watch from the beginning if you want to, and after this live stream you can also watch it from the beginning. So I'm going to close the Essential Sound panel by clicking on this. I think they call it like a hamburger window or a menu, and then click on Close Panel. So now we're back to this. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, and I'm going to open up my next sequence for the next few things that we're going to be doing. So color correction. Now, as you can see, what I did here, don't be afraid to edit the music in any way that you want to make it fit your video. Basically, what I did here is I made sure that this is like the more epic part, this is the chorus, and then we go back into the verse. So I just cut it up and I made it match on the beat. So now that we've done that, let's do some color correction. So for that, we're actually going to be opening up the color workspace right here. And that will open up this workspace. Now, I'm going to click right here on Lumetri Scopes. And if you don't see that, then go to Window, and down here, make sure that you have Lumetri Scopes and Lumetri Color both checked. And that should give you this window. Now, if the scopes look any different, I'll show you how to change that in a second. So let's first go to this panel. So this is the Lumetri Color panel, and this is where you can do all of your adjustments. So here's the basic correction, where you can change the temperature and the exposure, etc. There's creative. There is, oh my gosh, there are so many curves. We won't get into that. Don't worry about that. There's also color wheels. There is so many things. But what we're going to do is we're just going to learn how to do a basic correction. And for the basic correction, we're going to be needing these Lumetri Scopes. And they look super scary at first. I remember when I saw that the first time, I was like, are you serious? I thought it was going to be easy. I thought this was a webinar for beginners. Well, it is actually way easier than it seems. So let me first take a sip. Great reminder for you to take a sip as well. Now here, this is the Lumetri Scopes. Now these scopes are the two that I always use. And if yours look any different, then just right click on it and then click on presets. And as you can see, maybe it looks like this, right? You can right click, you can say, I don't want the parade, which is this one. And then this one, we wanted it to be white, right? So we can go to waveform type and we can say Luma. Now Luma stands for brightness. So this one right here will show the brightness of your video, and this one right here will show all the colors in your video. As you can see, there's red, magenta, blue, cyan, green, and yellow. And this white stuff right here shows you exactly where the colors of your video are. So as you can see, there's a lot of blue going on, and that makes sense because we have a bit of blue going on here as well, right? And it's also in my top. And then the exposure will show you exactly how well exposed it is. So up here, we have the highlights, and down here we have all the dark parts. So that is this, for example, right here. And the highlights would be, for example, this. Now, as you can see with the highlights right here, it is really like, it's really pressed to the ceiling, right? And that is this window right here. It is way out of control. It is, this you cannot save anymore. If I would lower the highlights, as you can see, there's no way of saving it, and your video will just look terrible. Now, if I want to reset this slider, I just double click on it, and now we're good again. But that is why you want to make sure that when you are filming, you want to make sure that you've already properly exposed your shot. Now, in this case, I honestly don't mind when my windows are blown out for privacy reasons. Now, people cannot see what's outside of my house, which is something that I am more comfortable with. So I don't mind this, but definitely make sure that your video is exposed properly. Now, why, before we use these scopes, why do you need these scopes? we need these scopes because we cannot trust our eyes. We cannot trust our eyes because we're using a monitor in a certain lighting environment, and we're using a monitor that may not be calibrated yet. So that means that it may not show the colors as to their true tone, true color. Does that make any sense? It doesn't show the true colors if it's not calibrated properly. So maybe if you're just looking at your video and you just start editing and you export your video, you send it to the client, next day you get an email from your client, you're on your phone, you check your email and you're like, what? You open the video and it turned out to be like way too green or too underexposed or whatever. Maybe you didn't turn the brightness all the way up. Like, let me show you. Right now my brightness is all the way up, right? Maybe it's just at 50% and you overexposed your shot. And you look on your phone and you can tell because it's a different monitor. It's not the monitor on your of your computer. You can see that the colors are way off. That is why you do not want to trust just your eyes. Also because the lighting in your room really makes a difference when you're editing colors in any editing program really, but that also includes Premiere Pro. So that is why you want to use the Lumetri scopes. But you also don't just want to use the Lumetri scopes. I know, right? Super contradictory. The reason why you don't want to use the Lumetri scopes, honestly, you do definitely want to use them, but you just want to use your eyes and your common sense when you're editing a clip in a park or that was shot in a park. There's a lot of green, there's green grass, there is green trees, everything is green. And this vector scope right here, let me just, for demonstration purposes, move this all the way to the green, will show you this, right? Now, what you want to do when it comes to the vector scopes, you want to make sure that this white data is in the middle of the vector scope. So if you see this, you would go, okay, I need to add a lot of magenta. Okay, this looks better. But if we now assume that this was a clip of a park with green trees and green grass, it won't look green anymore. It will look really weird. So that is why you want to use the vectors, the Lumetri scopes 100%, but you always want to refer back to your screen because sometimes an edit, even with this, you know, it could say, okay, I need this, but maybe I think this is just a little bit too green. Make sure that you use the vector scopes and your eyes, just not just your eyes, if that makes any sense. So now, let me just reset this. With all that being said, it is time to correct this, right? When you're just starting out in Premiere, when you're just starting out with color correction, Premiere actually has a very neat feature that you can try out when you're just starting out, and that is this auto button right here. So I'm going to press on auto, and this will basically give you a suggestion of what Premiere Pro thinks looks good on your video based on the data right here. Now, if I click on this FX button right here, I can turn off my whatever I did, and I can turn it on again. So you can see a little before and after, which is so satisfying to do. So this is with it on. And now this, I think this looks pretty good, right? I think that Premiere Pro did a good job. Sometimes it doesn't really do a good job, which is when you can just use this as starting points and then just take it from here. So if you want to, let's say that we want to actually lift the shadows, then we can just lift it like so, but I thought it looked pretty good. You can lift the overall exposure. You can lift just the highlights, just the shadows, which we just did, or the blacks like so. Basically, it really depends on your clip, but this is how it works. And if you want to reset it, just click on this button right here that says reset. Now, let me just check the chat really quickly. Thumbs up emoji. Yeah, thanks so much. Okay, that's great. So the next thing that you can do is, what you can see now is we have done this clip, right? But now this clip we haven't done. So what if we want to match this one to this one? There's also a feature for that, and that is right here where it says, where it says color wheels and match. We can click on that and we can open up the comparison view. Now that will open up this window, and let me first, I am getting ahead of myself. Let me just close this again. Let's first add a look or a video filter, and that is also known as a LUT. If you've never heard of a LUT, it's a video filter, just like when you upload a photo on Instagram and you add a photo filter. LUTs are video filters. And in Premiere Pro, there's also a lot of built-in LUTs, which are called looks. So what you can do is you can click on your clip that you want to apply the look to, and then press on the arrow and just browse through them. Now, if you bought any LUTs or you got LUTs from someone else, you can click on browse right here, and then you can find the LUTs on your computer. So, oops, I already did that. Well, if you want to apply a look, then you can just press on it and or click on the preview right here, and it will immediately be applied to your video. Now, this is way too intense. So let's just lower that down by using this intensity slider. We can just slide it down maybe to here. Let's just, or maybe, let's just do this. Why not? It's a little bit much, but it's okay. So we can do that, right? And then here you have a few more adjustments if you want the vibrance and the saturation. If you add vibrance, then you just add more color to the muted colors in your video. And if you add saturation, you add a lot of color to all of the colors in your video. For now, I'm just going to leave it as it is. Let's now go to the match function. So in order to open the comparison view, what I'm going to do is I'm first going to go to the timestamp right here, to the time code. I'm going to hit Ctrl+C to copy something, zooming out, and then I'm going to click on this clip right here, because this is the one that I want to match to the first one, and I'm going to open up the comparison view. So now we have the comparison view open. So this is our reference, and this is our the one that we want to match, right? So the reason why we copied the time code is because now right here, as you can see, it says reference position. If we click on that and then hit Ctrl+V or Command+V if you're on a Mac and then enter, it will bring you to that exact frame that we just copied the time code from. So now we have this and we have this. Now, what we can do is we can make sure that we have face detection turned on and then click on match. And now Premiere Pro will do its best to match this frame with this frame. Now, I think that, you know, we could maybe up the midtones a little bit. You know, you can just play around with it as much as you want, but as you can see, it did a pretty good job with matching the colors. And you can also uncheck this box right here to see the before and after. I think that this looks really good. I think Premiere Pro did a really good job. Now, this is a great way to match when you're using different cameras, for example, and you want to match the colors from one shot to the other shot. In this case, what I would actually do is I would go to the effect controls, and then as you can see, like I said, all the effects will be added right here. We see the Lumetri color effect. I would hit Ctrl+C, and then I would go to this clip, or well, you know, I would copy it from this clip and then I would paste it on this clip. But because we just did this, there's already a Lumetri color effect right here. So I wouldn't do it if I had two of the clips that were shot in the exact same position with the same camera, same lighting. But if we're using different cameras, then this is really good, and it's also good for a lot of other ways. So there's actually one more tip that I want to give you here, which is going to really help you out. And that is if you want to color correct a bunch of clips or color grade a lot of clips together. You don't have to go to effect controls and then let's just click on this one and then copy the Lumetri color and then paste it to each individual clip. And then when you make an adjustment, you would have to delete it from each individual clip and you have to apply the new effect to each individual clip. That is a lot of work. So what you can actually do is, I'm gonna go back right here to the project bin. We can go to assets and then we can go to new item and we can click on adjustment layer. Now that will bring up this window right here, and an adjustment layer is just very simply put an empty layer. There's nothing on it. I'm just going to put it on top of these three. There's nothing on this, but you can apply any type of effect to this clip. So if I'm now, let me just close the comparison view. If I'm now going to, I don't know, let's just do something random. Let's just increase the exposure a little bit. Let's just keep it. Let's just add like a lot. I'm just going to do something random right now. Let's just do this. I'm going to lower the intensity. Now what you will see is that I didn't apply it to this one clip right here that we see right now. I made sure that the adjustment layer was selected, and now if we go through all the clips, it was applied to all the clips. And if we want to hide that track really quickly to just see what I just did, you see? If I click on this eye right here, you can see now it's hidden and now it's not. This is such a great way when it comes to color grading and you want to give your entire video a look. You don't have to do that per clip. You can actually just create one adjustment layer and just drag it out of the entire layer and you're good to go. So with all that being said, let's go back to the editing workspace. It's time to add some text. Now, let's first add some basic text. The basic text that we can add is, for example, if you're also doing a gear review, you might have some links in the description. So let's just type link in the description. In order to do that, we can go to the toggle or to the toolbar right here and we can click on type tool, or we can just hit, as you can see, if I hover over it, press T on our keyboard. Then we can click on the screen and I'm just going to type link. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. I'm going to click on link in description. Now I always like to double click on it to make sure that the entire text is selected, and then we can go to effect controls, and right here you can change the appearance of the text. But what you can also do is open the window and then open essential graphics. Then go to edit. And then I'm going to delete this one because that was a little mistake on my end. So here we have our link in description, right? So here we basically, if we compare the two, we basically have about the same things, but we have a few extra things. So we could say, okay, I want this to be in the horizontal center. I want this to be aligned to the bottom of the clip like so. And if you want to get your selection tool back, just click on this or press V. And then here you can change your fonts. I'm just going to go for the Adobe font. If we want this to be all caps, there is so many options here. Like, I really encourage you to just try it out for yourself. You can make it bigger if you want, and then you can say, okay, I want to align it again like so. You know, there's a lot of things that you can do, and this is how you would create some static text, right? Now, what if I told you that there is something inside Premiere Pro that is so beneficial for so many of you, myself included, that will make your life so much easier. It will make you look way more professional, even though this is your first time inside Premiere Pro. Let's go to the front and let's go right here into the Essential Graphics panel right here and click on Browse. Now again, this is Adobe Stock. We're going to click on Adobe Stock, and again, it says Browse Templates available from Adobe Stock. So click on that, and here you'll find tons and tons and tons of templates. Some of them you need to pay for, some of them are free. If you need to pay for them, you can see that by this little dollar sign, but you can just click on free right here, and then you'll just get all the free templates. So just browse through them. If you want, you can choose something. So let's just say that I want a social media, lower third, going to type in social media or social, and then we get all of these different options that we can pick from. Now, I want this one. So I'm going to drag and drop that to the timeline. It's really that easy. And now we have our lower third right here, and we didn't do anything for it. And now all we need to do is just need to edit it. So I'm just going to click on this, and then right here, I'm going to click on edit. It already had edit enabled, and I'm going to change the text control. So here, this is the website. So let's say instagram.com. And as you can see, it changed right here. And then for text 2, it says username. Okay, cool. I'll write down my username, Lila from YouTube. And then, okay, cool. Now, the only thing I don't want blue text because Instagram's more like pink. So I'm going to choose a hot pink by clicking on this right here. And then I'm going to go and, okay, let's just do that. Why not, right? Now we have this. And now, as you can see, we see this really weird, like triangle, circle, square thingy. This is called media replacement. And this is something, oh my gosh, this is so good. It's so good. It is so good. We can go to style controls, social icon style, and this is where we would have to add our icon. So what I did, as you may have already seen, this is also, by the way, a great way to go through any or to navigate through any of the bins or effects or whatever. If you don't see it right here, you can just click on the 2 arrows right here. So let me see, go to project, so we're gonna go to assets, and then here we have an Instagram logo, right? All we have to do is we have to drag this to this bit right here. Let me just first zoom in so you can see this, as you can see, matches this right here. So if I drag this to this and I drop it, and then I say use original color, and now we zoom in. Oh, that's not what we want to see. Oh, where's the, okay, here we go. Now we have our Instagram logo, right? So let's just go back to fit. This is also, again, this is really great if you want to, no one wants to see this, but if you want to zoom in, you can zoom in, but I always make sure that I have it on fit when I'm editing so I can see the entire edit. And then what we only need to do is the main color. We need to change the main color. I'm going to choose the hot pink for this one. Let's just go for like I don't know, like a purple or something. As you can see, it is super, super easy. And now if we play through it, let me first actually change the position. So I'm going to go to Effect Controls, and then to Motion. You can just move it like so if you want to. You can make it bigger, and then let's just drop it like so. So now let's play through it. Hey everyone, welcome to another video. I hope that you're doing well. In this video, I mean, doesn't that look good? And we didn't need to do anything for it other than just drag and drop a logo and change the text. This is such a hack. There are so many different templates that I really encourage you to try out and just, you know, see what works for you. It is really good. And there are so many free ones as well. It's really, really good. Now that we have this and that we have our text, we have our final edit. And before we move on to the last two things, which are very quick, let's see if there is something else. I have to leave for a meeting. Great stream and you rock. Thank you so much. Let's see. Okay, templates don't appear to be free. It's asking me to sign up for a subscription. Julia, that is actually not true because I don't have an Adobe stock subscription and I am able to use them. If I just go to browse like I showed you and I make sure that I have free selected, anything in here is free. So make sure that you have free selected and then you shouldn't have to sign up for Adobe stock. So I don't know if anything goes wrong on your end. In that case, then make sure to ask Adobe Care for that question. But make sure that you ask them that question. But other than that, it should work. It should work. So yeah, I really hope that it will work for you too, because it is absolutely a game changer. So I'm going to close the panel. I did what you said, I promise. Yeah, I don't know, maybe Adobe Care, maybe hit them up on Twitter. So, you know, you can maybe share like a photo or a screenshot or something so that they can help you out, or share it with me on Twitter as well. It's the same handle as my Instagram, and I'm happy to help you out there. But it should work. In general, it should work. So we have our final edit, right? And let's say that this is an entire video. Let's just pretend that this is an entire video. And we want to not only put this on YouTube, but we also want to put this on TikTok or on Instagram, maybe in our Instagram feed. Maybe we want to turn this into a square. Well, what we need to do is, this is one, like the auto audio ducking feature is one of those things, and this is another one of those things. If we go to sequences, and here we have our final timeline, right? It's called final, that's the one that we have open now. What we can do is we can right click on it and click on auto reframe sequence. Now previously, before Adobe introduced this, we had to create a new sequence with those aspect ratios, so with the 1:1 aspect ratio, for example, or the 9:16, and they would have to copy all of it, and then we would have to resize it and reposition it and make it fit the frame. Now that was a complete pain, and thankfully Adobe has this super smart machine learning intelligence, artificial intelligence thing called Adobe Sensei that is so smart that it does it for you, and it's called auto reframe. So if you auto reframe an entire sequence, if we click, let me do that again, if we right click on it and then click on auto reframe sequence, this window will pop up, and here we can choose a sequence name, so choose whatever, and then a target aspect ratio. So if we open this, it says square 1:1, vertical 4:5, which is also Instagram feed, vertical 9:16 is TikTok, and it's TikTok and Instagram stories. And then this one is what we have already. So let's just stick to the square one by one. And then motion tracking is how fast is the motion in your video? If you're editing a clip that is, I don't know, like a basketball clip or something, and there's a lot of movement, then you want to choose faster motion. And otherwise you want to choose slower motion. In this case, there is not a lot of motion going on, so I could choose slower motion or just default. And then I'm going to hit create. And now we need to give Premiere Pro a little bit of time to auto reframe this clip. And now, as you can see, everything is now reframed. And if something doesn't, if you don't like something, for example, right here, as you can see, it moves around a little bit because it's following my movement. But if we don't want that, we can actually go back to the effect controls, and then we can go to the auto reframe, and we can choose to toggle the effect off, which basically means that we don't want the effect. Now, again, this is not the face that we want, but then you can just, you know, change the scale here, and now it won't move around. So you could do something like that. One thing that I forgot to show you, by the way, I'm just noticing it. Let's go back to the title. If you want to use any video transitions, right? If you want to use any video transitions, you can use those transitions for your titles as well. So let's just say that we want the title to fade in and fade out. Maybe you want your clip to fade in and fade out. What you can do is you can go to the effects right here. And if you don't see that, let me just zoom in again, show you the effects right here. If you don't see that, you can go to window and make sure that you have effects checked. You can go into video transitions and you can choose any of the transitions. This is also where you'll find all of the video effects. Now, what you can do when it comes to the fade in effect is you can actually click on the edge, right click on it, and then click on apply default transition. And then, as you can see, a default transition, the cross dissolve, which is the fade in, has been applied. Now, if you want to delete it, just click on the transition, hit delete, click on the layer, and now there's actually another little hack, which is the Control D or Command D. This will apply the default transition to both the end and the beginning of your clip or of your layer. So now it fades in and it fades out. And you can also, if you want, you can change the length of your cross dissolve like so. So if you want it to fade in very slowly, or if you want to do that very fast, and this is how you do it. So I just noticed that I forgot to show you that, and I think it's really important to show you that because I know that there's a lot of interest when it comes to that. So now that we have made our video, we've made this video, and we want to export our video. What do we do? Well, we can go right here to quick export, and we can, this is all optimized for web. So if we click on this, we have a few presets that we can choose from. If we click on this, we can change our name and our location. But I kind of want to show you like the default way of doing this. So if, this is very important, I just clicked on this, right? And now I'm going to go to File, Export, Media. Nothing is going to happen. In order to export your video, you want to make sure that you have this window, which is your timeline window, selected. Now if we go to File, Export, Media, we can export our video. So that is a little troubleshooting. If it isn't working for you, make sure that you have your timeline window selected. Then here we have a lot of options. We're not going to go through all the settings. What I would really recommend you to do, especially in the beginning, is to use a preset. Now here, as you can see, there's tons more presets that you can use, and we're just going to use the YouTube one, this one, or you can choose just match source high bitrate. Now, if you're uploading to Instagram, for example, what I found, what works the best for me for Instagram Reels, for example, and for TikTok is match source adaptive high bitrate. So you can click on that. I'm just going to click on here, and then you can either choose export or queue. If you choose export, the video will export inside Premiere Pro. So that means that you cannot touch Premiere Pro. It's exporting the video. So if you want to take a break, that's great. But if you want to edit another video, then you want to click on queue, because when you click on queue, let me do that. That's fine. Let me just click on queue for now. It will open up the Adobe Media Encoder. Let me see if there's any questions. I'm glad this webinar was helpful, Julia. I really hope that you can figure it out with the templates, because I don't want you to miss out on the templates. So now with the media encoder opened, right here, this is our video. Now you can change, if you want, you can change the name right here, and you can save it wherever you want, and then you can just press play, which is this one, this green button right here. And then as you can see, we can just do whatever in Premiere Pro while our video is exporting in the media encoder. So that is so useful. I'm just gonna stop this for now because we don't need this. But that is so useful, especially if you have a lot of work going on and you just need to work on another project and you don't have maybe 8 hours to wait for your video to be exported. You can just use the media encoder, which also comes with your Creative Cloud subscription. So you'll be good to go. And with all that being said, I'm done. So let's see if there's any last questions. How long did this video take you before to edit? Well, this video, this right here, this is just, I just filmed this just for this workshop. So there's not really much that went into this. I just filmed a few bits just for demonstration purposes. But otherwise, if I edit, if I film a video, usually takes me 45 minutes for my talking head stuff, maybe an hour sometimes, really depends on how focused I am and how fluent I am in English that day. But that is about it. And then editing takes me about 8 hours or something. So it's a commitment, but I love it. I love doing it. So I'm also very honored to now have shown you all of this and to hopefully have taught you some gems and some tips that you can use to start editing your videos, because it is such a creative journey. And I really want to encourage all of you to just explore it, honestly. Just explore it. Take your time. Watch tutorials. Rewatch this webinar if you want to. Again, like I said in the beginning, Mandy is going to be doing her live stream on Wednesday. So if you tuned in on Friday and you want to see her live stream as well, because she's amazing, you can tune in on Wednesday again. And by that time, there won't be any technical issues because they will be taking care of all of that. Now, if there's anything else, thank you so much. Fantastic job. Yes, can I get some thumbs up in the chat if you enjoyed this webinar, if everything is clear, if you don't have any last questions, if you're ready to go, if you're ready to start this creative journey, let me know so we can finish this webinar very positively. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. These live streams have been such a blast to do. I'm so excited to see all of you here and to help you all out there. I am seeing thumbs up. Are we able to rewatch this? Yes, it will be available for replay if you want to right after this. Maybe there is a little bit of YouTube processing, but it will be available on this channel. So just make sure to tune in when you want to. Where do we learn more? Well, this webinar will also be given by a few other people like Mandy on Wednesday. If you want, you can rewatch this one. I am a YouTuber. I make a lot of Premiere Pro tutorials, so you can check out my channel. My channel is Lila. You can also find me as Lila from YouTube. So if you want to learn any more Premiere Pro tips, then I could recommend my own channel. Why not? Anyway, I see a lot of thumbs up. That is awesome. Thank you so much for having me, guys. I wish you all the luck in the world and all the fun in the world, and have fun in Premiere Pro. See you next time.